up with this. Let's warm up with a trailer. Grimzilla has been a member for 28 months, meaning he gets a member badge and a comment. And he said, Japanese version of Lord of the Rings trailer strongly implies the story is split between Helm and Hera and their defense of Hornburg and Edolas. Funny how the Hollywood version really only focused on Hera. I've only seen the US version of the trailer, but let's begin with that before we get into the differences in different versions. What did you think of the Western version of the trailer, Paul?
Oh, the West. Oh, sorry. You mean the English language?
Yes.
Is that what you mean? Oh, okay.
Apparently the Japanese got a different version.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Well, I could brush up on my Japanese. No, I don't know any Japanase. Sayonara. That's all I know. Hitachi.
Well, in a given situation, Yamaha. That's all you need.
That's right. Hitachi, Sansui, Yamaha, Honda. There you go. There's my morning racism. I was kind of left cold by the trailer. I mean, it had the tone of the Jackson movie. The heroine was not made to look like a man, but I'm honest to God, female girl boss out. I think everybody out there who has been really pressing the gas down hard on this has just made it bad for the near future or future of films that want to highlight a girl boss.
Or indeed any woman, because I think that I agree with you, and also Hyperguyver to echo those sentiments, saying for $5, one girl boss to rule them
there
all.
You go.
One girl boss to find them all. One girl boss to bring them all and in wokeness bind them. Yeah, and I've said before, I really think that's the reason why Borderlands flopped as badly as it did. Now, there ain't no universe where that movie was going to be a smash hit. But the only way it flopped as badly as it did was because of all the girl bosses and granny bosses right there in your face. And I also think that the audience have had enough of girl bosses, and not just girl bosses, but anything that even gives a whiff of a girl boss. So I think that right now, if it's a male-oriented franchise and it's female-led, even if it's not a girl boss, that thing is going to struggle.
Well, there's even a line in it where it says that only a woman can handle this, or don't go out. There's a line in there that's just the total cliche girl boss of, no, don't go out. It's too dangerous. No, only I can handle it, or something. I went, really? Okay, you had to put that in there. I mean, that's the heroic moment that we're all cheering. Now, I cheered, and I think many of us cheered when can't remember her name, punched out the one of the Sauron's minions, right? Which he says, no man can defeat me, and she goes, I'm no man, and then she sticks a sword through his head.
Yeah, you mean like in the original movies,
Lord of the Rings.
Of course.
There wasn't a single person in the theater that didn't cheer.
No, that was awesome then. Absolutely.
But she was also set up correctly, right?
Well, and that's where I'm not concerned so much about. Like, I get it. Everybody's knee-jerk reaction.
That's a knee-jerk. Tom,
I'm watching this, and I also watched the Japanese trailer, and I got to agree. I'm willing to give them the chance. You've got the original people behind this. Yes, there's some new writers involved with this, but if you see the Japanese version of the trailer, as the previous super chat brought up, it is a little different. You can see a different side of this story. Was it Grimzilla? Yeah. Grimzilla was 100% right. It does feel like the American version is trying to make this movie look like it's a woman power girl boss movie. But if you watch the Japanese trailer, it looks a lot more balanced. She has a companion that's a male, but you don't really notice that in the US version. she actually has some struggles and some other things that happen. And it does look like it's a bit more, like there's even more of the world than we got to see in the US trailer. Like some cameos and such. But anyhow, like, yeah, I'm kind of on the fence about this because I'm like, okay, I think I can trust Peter Jackson and gang because they've handled strong female characters before. You just gave a great example, right?
Right.
And I think what this movie and the Gollum movie are basically Peter Jackson saying to Amazon, "Oh, you want to ghost me? All right, well, you took Galadriel and you turned her into an unlikable bitch stereotype now of the Karen boss woman. Well, I'm going to show you how it's supposed to be done."
I'm all
And
in
then
on
the
that.
same thing with Gollum, because what did everybody say about Amazon's Lord, panderings of power, as George Molo likes to call it? He flat out, everybody was saying, how can you make a whole show out of just, an index? Well, they said the same thing about Gollum. They're like, how can you make a whole movie out of one paragraph? Peter Jackson is just going to be like, here, hold my beer and check it out. That's what I think he's doing right now. Is these two are basically two big middle fingers to Amazon. And then I think whatever the third project is that they haven't announced yet, that's his true passion project, right? That's my assumption or my gut feeling on this after kind of washing away some of the early, knee-jerk ghost chasing reaction to this. And I'm not saying anybody's wrong for doing those things because you're 100% right, Paul. I've gotten to the point where even if it's well written, I'm almost kind of tired right now of this female lead thing. Let's move past it for a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But then again, it's like, if it's done well, I don't care. And we may have a decent film here. We have till Christmas to find out, but I think that the US trailer did this movie a disservice.
I agree completely with that. Because as you have expressed, I think that what we are looking at right here, more so than a failure in the product itself, is a failure in marketing. That the people in Warner marketing decided, maybe they're true believers, I don't know exactly who runs the marketing department or what their values are, but it looks like there's someone there who is of the opinion that the only way to sell this is with diversity, equity, and inclusion, and women. Correct. And all of those things. That's what I think.
And who would have been in charge when this was greenlit?
Well,
Miss Sarnoff.
That would, of course, have been Sarnoff. And also, this is something that we must never forget. This animated movie right here is just a rights retainer. At the time when this thing was greenlit, no one cared about this thing. There was no serious attention for anyone here. This was just a rights retainer. Like, fine, this is the minimum we can do here. Take some money, do whatever, but just put some chicks in it and make them gay. Because Sarnoff is just like Kathleen Kennedy. So that would have been there. I'm sure that's something that's left over from there. But beyond that, I also think that, either that is in the product and the American trailer is more representative of what it is, and the Japanese trailer, they just want people to see it in Japan. That we will just have to wait and see.
Well, and the thing is, those of us who watch anime is packed with lead female characters. There's just a crap ton of anime with, and that's it's funny. Why has it never bothered me in anime? Am I an asshole, or is it just in the hands of social activists, as Andre prefers to call them? Is it that the activists have ruined it for the genre? Because, like I said, anime, I would say more than 50% of anime and a lot of Japanese video games have got females as the lead.
Well, and it's my understanding this director is an anime director who's worked on quite a bit of things.
Right. So,
and Script Doctor brought up some great points last night. Like, let's just say, for the sake of argument, Sarnoff did say, yeah, you can do we need a Lord of the Rings project, but I want a strong female character, right? So who's to say that Peter, Philippa, and Fran didn't sit down and go, well, what the hell are we going to do here? Well, they were probably looking through things they could work with that they actually had the rights to, and they came across this story. Well, in this story, this female character is left completely vague. She's just mentioned as part of the story, and we don't know if Tolkien meant to come back later and embellish it and fill it out more, or if it's just the way he left it just so he had it there to refer back to. Regardless, they keyed in on that because then they could actually expand upon that character and probably not trample on anything else in the universe before or after. See, I think that's where they're coming from. Kind of like when we were told when Dune first happened, the first Dune, Villeneuve was told, we're going to race swap. You got to race swap and gender swap at least 1 or 2 characters, or we're going to do it for you.
Right.
So I think here they were, Sarnoff was in charge at the time. She probably told them it has to have a female character lead. I believe the crew sat down and they said, well, what can we work with? We already use these main characters. We don't want to mess with Galadriel. We don't want to mess with, Eowyn or anybody like that. They keyed in on this character because I don't even think she has a name. Because George was on last night talking about it. So I did send him the link if he's around. But yes, her original name was Chesty Morgan. Yeah. Chest E. Morgan. Yeah.
I mean, look at all the Studio Ghibli movies. I think pretty much every single one has got a main female character. But the difference is that the men aren't stupid in it. Like, they could be clumsy boys who are afraid of talking with girls. That's a Japanese trope, right? The tongue-tied boy who is not able to get out his what he wants to say. Even in Godzilla -1, the lead character could not tell this woman that he was living with that he was obviously falling in love with, and it was clear that she had fallen in love with him, that he just couldn't do it because he was too embarrassed. It was part of very Japanese cultural, right? But you didn't mind it. It's but yeah, I think the Disney and all the other activists out there. I mean, look what they did with the Acolyte, which is now being Sovietized. What's happening with the Acolyte is a lot like what happened with the apparatchik that stood on the dais with Stalin, looking at the rows of tanks and everything else, and if they go out of fashion, suddenly they're airbrushed out. Trotsky gone. That seems to be what's happening with the Acolyte. They're off the website. Toys are disappearing.
What Acolyte? I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm curious if they even had merchandise to begin with.
Well, we don't
that's
know,
one thing I will.
Yeah,
because there are some people pointing out on the other side. They're like, we don't think they had any merchandise to get, and then that might be actually true.
That might be true. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, you're right. Obviously, as a Peter Jackson project and Lord of the Rings, we're going to give it a try, right? We're going to watch it.
Well,
of course.
Some people in the audience are like, well, she's not important. He never gave her a name because she's not important to the story. And I'm like, that's my whole point, right? Like, basically, Peter and crew are doing exactly what Amazon is doing to Galadriel, a character we do care about and know a lot about, right? Instead, they're taking a character that has no history really outside of their one part that they play in the story, which is a big part in the story. And we don't know if just Tolkien didn't go back to flesh it out later or what the deal was, because there was a lot of stuff that he left undone.
But that's the smart thing to do.
Yeah. And that's what I'm thinking is like, okay, I'd rather see them destroy a character if it's going to be bad than a character we care about that we don't care about. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to destroy any of the lore until we see it.
But she was riding that horse and wielding that sword just a bit too expertly for me.
Well, there's lots of scenes where in the Japanese cut where it shows her as a kid training too.
Yeah.
So that's another thing people.
Okay, so she is a central part of the series because they're showing her backstory, right?
In this movie, yes. Like I said, they fleshed this character out for the movie. This tale is somewhere, I can't remember. George said
it's not a series, it's a movie.
No, it's a movie. It's an actual theatrical, because that's the whole point, is that Warner Brothers had to put a movie in theaters. Because I don't know if you remember about, what was it, 2 years ago, Andre, when the Saul Zaentz company sold out the rights to the Lord of the Rings. And they're like, well, yeah, we got all the rights. And then Warner Brothers is like, no, you don't. Because the rights are all spread all over the place between The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, and all the ancillary stuff surrounding it. And not only that, you have situations where people have the TV show rights with Amazon, because that was what was left over, and the movie rights with Warner Brothers. But see, Amazon can't touch certain characters without paying Warner Brothers for them, and all that other kind of stuff. That's why the New Line thing is at the end of the Amazon show, even though New Line has absolutely nothing to do with it.
I think Amazon needs to buy Warner Brothers.
Don't give them ideas.
Yeah, that can happen before you know it. I mean, Sattler probably only has it as a fix-em-upper. Yeah. But meanwhile, no.
And I mean, these are logical
Yeah.
stories. Why couldn't they try something else? Look, again, going back, we got to remember when this movie came into play. It was a rights retainer, and I'm sure Sarnoff had one stipulation, and that was that it had to be a female lead character.
Well, definitely.
Because like I brought up with Villeneuve when you were gone there for a second, Andre, about how we had heard that they told him either you're going to gender swap and race swap a couple of these characters, or we'll do it for you.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling they got the same kind of pressure from up above.
Absolutely. And also just remember, this was but a rights retainer that no one cared about. But now they care. Now they care because the Rings of Power didn't so much give them competition, but it did give them a major marketing boost. So now they're going to get a ton of Lord of the Rings productions into development. And all of the ones that you mentioned right there, it's not for me to say what's going to happen or not, but I wouldn't be surprised if the things you mentioned weren't at the very least under consideration, because they can do it. They can fill out the Lord of the Rings universe that they have the rights to, and that's most of it. Warner can do pretty much whatever they please with and have Peter Jackson come and do it. So it could happen now.
Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong. It could be shit, and I'll be the first one to admit it. Right? You know, so when we get there in December, I'll be there to see it just like everybody else. And I'm not even that big of an anime fan. That's the part I'm looking forward to least amount. But the art does look amazing.
It does.
Right?
It does look good.
And the animation looks very fluid, and that's, you know, that's a plus. I mean, if it sucks, it sucks. But
well, this is kind of like the equivalent of a DC animated movie in a sense. That's the same thing that this means to Warner at the time when it was made, when it was greenlit.
But the funny thing is, did you notice in the trailer how they really, really push that this is attached to the Lord of the Rings films?
Yeah. Yes.
Of course.
Well, they even put footage from the original in it.
Yeah. They want to be so clear as they can without saying it explicitly. That pay no attention to those fakes over at Amazon. That's not real Lord of the Rings. This is real Lord of the Rings. I kind of wish they would have been more explicit about it.
Because they kind of were.
Have a case of brand confusion here with two competing Lord of the Rings, which are not canon with each other.
And that's why I think they had the original film so heavily featured in the trailer to show, hey, this is the real Lord of the Rings. This ain't the Amazon crap.
Yeah,
right? Like this.
You need to only look at the font.
Yeah.
For that,
and I mean, and they got the story from the appendices. So I mean, that's basically what Amazon did for their show, right?
Yeah, it's the same basic approach. It's a matter of which part of material can you apply that approach to, and the most important thing, the execution.
Yeah,
and the people in Amazon have just shown themselves to be a bunch of incompetents. Sorry, carry on.
No. Six just sent me an article here about it, and in their breakdown of the story, which probably would have been the press release, I mean, it even says it's about a man who ruled Rohan before Eowyn's time, legendary king known as Helm Hammerhead. When Freka, the chieftain of neighboring proposes that his son, Wolf, wed Helm's daughter, Hera, Helm reacts badly. He strikes Farka dead with a single punch. All that's in the story.
And yeah, Wolf that's weird. It's weird that they would say before Eowyn's time, because no one gives a fuck about her. Like, she's not an anchor. I mean, that's a bit too harsh. She's not an anchor character. There's no Eowyn era. She was the daughter of the king.
Barnum wanted a female lead.
No. Yeah, I'm just saying it's just a weird wording.
Yeah, I'm not disputing that.
That's what I'm thinking is like, this feels like it's geared in different ways towards the audience. And I wonder if it's not necessarily misrepresenting what we're getting in the American trailer, But I'm not ready to just buy into this as all wham and powers stuff like it's presenting it compared to what I've seen in the Japanese trailer and stuff like that. I could be wrong.
I don't know the record of this particular anime director.
Oh, well, I know he's worked on the TV show for Ghost in the Shell. Let me look at the other stuff.
Oh, okay. Depends on which Ghost in the Shell version. There's some really bad ones.
Kenji Kamiyama is his name. He's worked on Ghost in the Shell standalone. Complex.
Okay, those are good. Standalone's good.
East of Eden.
East of Eden is good. Is very good.
Napping Princess.
Don't know it.
009 Red Cyborg. Tons and tons of stuff. I can't even read that.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay, no.
Yeah, he's done a lot of anime. I mean, those are the most probably prolific ones there, I would say, I suppose.
Yeah, and we'll see just what kind of influence the American masters might have had on how he's not Ona. He's not going to take control of it and say, F you guys, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, right? It's a paycheck.
No, I think Peter and Fran and Philippe are more in charge, which would be the
but we
trio
don't know whether they've been, that they have somehow been infested either. I mean, who was it that we went, oh yeah, this person probably isn't going to get infested, and then suddenly,
fair.
Ben Stiller sounds like a complete twat.
Fair, but Peter Jackson, outside of like keeping his crayons off his old movies, like I thought he did a great, like he stood up to Disney on that Let It Be, or the Beatles documentary.
Yes, that's true.
And some other things to where he's like, well, they didn't want certain language and other things in there. He's like, well, the fuck we won't. Otherwise it ain't being shown on Disney Plus then.
Right.
Because he's like, this is the way it's cut. This is the way it's going out. And because there was some bits and pieces in there that Disney was worried about between language and it wasn't so much language, but there was I can't remember if it was Ringo or somebody else was doing some joke and it was considered a little racist or something.
Well,
like
I mean,
some other little bits here and there they wanted out. Yeah.
Well, Jackson refused to gender swap the Beatles for the special.
Yeah. The Beatettes.
The Beatettes. That's right. Nice. Nice.
You say that in jest, but Amazon actually did a movie based on the history of aviation, based on these two pioneers that discovered all kinds of stuff about the weather using like air balloons. You know what they did? They gender swapped one of these historical characters.
Really?
Yeah. So you say that in jest, but be careful with what you say in jest this day and age, because they actually took a movie that purports to be historic and they just gender swapped one of these actual named researchers.
Wow.
Who's so important that I do not recall the individual's name, and then they made him a girl boss who was having adventures on top of the air balloon and everything. So the people in the chat will tell me the name.
I swear that a lot of this goes back to like Hamilton or something like that.
Well, Hamilton was swapped. I mean,
that's what I mean. Like, it's like okay, if you're gonna do it for like a play or you're gonna do the quote unquote whiz type of thing, fine. But if you're telling an historical, documented movie, I think you should go at least to certain pains to.
Well, Britain has gone nuts over that, but we don't have to go over that. But then again, you see a historically, well, I mean. I don't know whether the story fully is accurate, but you see a movie like Hidden Figures, right? Where that was basically true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
that's what you should be doing. Like, find those parts of history.
That's what's
movie about that.
That was
rewrite history.
That was a heroic movie. Nobody complained about that. That was a really, really good story. And you're telling me there aren't more stories like that around?
Well, of course, there's the Battle of Hastings, which the BBC are filming right now, with half the cast is black, all the lords and everything. So, yeah.
This clip was taken from Midnight's Edge in the Morning, which streams live every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time on the Midnight's Edge main channel. There, you can send in your live questions and comments before clips and full stream replays are uploaded to Midnight's Edge live archives. We are also on Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey, and Facebook, so smash that like, help share, subscribe, and join us.